All right, we're going to give that a second to see if anyone's going to trickle in. All right. Welcome to anybody who is joining the stream. My name is Shane Rhodes, and welcome to the inaugural Shane Talks to Actors series. I have no name for this thing, so bear with me. I need to come up with a name. Do you have an idea for a name? Give me a name, chat. I don't know. I'm figuring it out. But yeah. So before we get started, what I want to go ahead and do is just bring something to everyone's attention. If this is something that you know about me, as I'm always wanting to continue the conversation in regards to discussing Palestine and everything that is happening on the Gaza Strip and also in the West Bank. As everyone has seen, recently Congress has passed a bill to basically defund UNRWA up until March 2025, which is going to have devastating impacts on everyone who lives in the region, especially because they're on the verge of famine. The famine is already beginning. So I'm encouraging everyone to donate where you can, when you can. Donate directly to UNRWA, World Central Kitchen, who is in Gaza providing meals for people, and anyone else who is providing meals for the Palestinian people. Because they desperately need our help, and we should all do everything that we can to assist them, especially since our tax dollars is going to the weapons that are attacking them. All right, so on that note, I am very excited to talk to someone who is a very, very dear friend of mine, extremely talented, and also one of the most generous people you are ever going to meet. So this person is Amy Lizardo, and let me go ahead and read off her bio. Amy Lizardo is a regional actor, singer, and teaching artist. She is currently an acting company member at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, appearing this season in Macbeth and Jane Eyre. In 5 seasons with the festival, Amy has appeared in 12th Night, The Tempest, Revenge Song, Mother Road, La Commedia of Errors. Before becoming a company member with the festival, Amy was based in San Francisco Bay Area, where she had the great pleasure of working with a number of theaters, including but not limited to Berkeley Repertory Theater, doing Party People and Moby Dick, American Conservatory Theater, doing Christmas Carol, Men on Boats, The Unfortunates, Theater Works, Simple Gifts, Once Upon a Rhyme, California Shakespeare Theater, The Tempest, Quixote Nuevo, San Francisco Playhouse, Dogfight the Rules, Center Repertory Theater, Red Bike, and many, many more. Since leaving the Bay, Amy has also had the opportunity to perform at theaters across the country, including American Repertory Theater, doing Real Women Have Curves the Musical, Rogue Theater Company with Heisenberg, Arena Theater, Mother Road. Amy also spends much of her time teaching young students theater, having been a teaching artist for many theater companies across the country. Amy has received her master's degree in theater from San Jose State University. Let us welcome Amy Lizardo.
Hi.
What's up?
What's up? Yes. How's it going?
Right. I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm so great. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Day off. What a concept.
Yeah. Man,
Yeah.
I am. Oh yeah. Oh, because you're on that equity
I'm
tech
on
schedule
my
right now.
equity life. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. How are you holding up? Because like you're about to open soon, right?
Yeah. We open in literally 4 days on Friday. I will say, in all honesty, I am very tired, brain tired, body tired. In Macbeth, I'm one of the witches, and in our version, the witch is sick constantly,
Ooh.
which is awesome. And it's
Yeah.
really cool because it's like you got triads in there, your solid C, E, F sharps, but then we have some really dissonant chords
Ooh,
because
I
we're
like that.
weird and weird.
Yeah.
And so learning all of that was tricky. And now we're just they're like, okay, we're gonna, tech, because
Yeah.
as previewing, we're also in tech during the day. So they're like, go ahead and sing that, belt that high C 3 more times. So I'm like, all right, here we go. Do that movement that you do where you're completely stiff like this for another hour.
Oh my God.
So my body is feeling it. I need to take better care of it. And my brain, and I'm a little tired, but I got some rest today, which is nice. And we're opening on Friday, which is also nice. But then, of course, being in the rep, which is super exciting. Not only are we opening, it's very exciting. Well, the reason I say it in that way is because it's actually the first time I've been in the acting company since 2019,
Yeah.
right? But this is the first time that I am in like kind of a proper rep. So
Oh,
2019,
interesting.
yeah, so 2019 is when I got to OSF. So you ask how I got to OSF. Here we are. So I got to OSF in 2019 doing two shows,
Mm-hmm.
Motherhood and La Comedia of Errors. In
Mm-hmm.
that time, what was very unique about that was that we were essentially our own little mini company within the
Yeah.
large company. So there
Yeah.
was 9 of us who did the 2 shows. And then so I with the same director and the same people. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I have a proper rep because I didn't work with 2 different directors. I didn't work with multiple different cast members who were doing 5 other different shows, right?
Yeah.
So this and then the first season back in 22, I was only in 1 show.
Yeah.
And then last year only in 1 show. And so this year I get to do it. I'm in 2 different shows, one in the outdoor stage, one in the indoor, and all of that to say Friday we open and start rehearsals for Jane Eyre on the
Oh my
same day.
God. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
So,
can finally have that proper theater camp moment where it's
oh
just
my
like
God,
literally just like all
so
day, every
excited.
day.
So excited.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, there's something I saw recently. I saw Richard III recently over at Chicago Shakespeare. And I gotta admit, I've been like kind of Dickie 3'd out because I've seen it so many times.
Dickie 3.
But
Yeah.
like it was so pleasantly surprised. Because like
Oh, good.
so Katie Sullivan, who is she is I think double amputee is like the way to say it. Like amputated from
Mm-hmm.
like the knees down on both legs.
Oh, both legs. Yeah, double amputee.
Tony nominated actor. She just
Oh,
was
amazing.
dynamite. But they did something really interesting where it's like they had like the background where it felt like this really kind of horror movie chorus where
Oh,
like
I
it looked
love
like everyone was
that.
wearing lab coats and these like weird, almost like muslin like
More.
masks on.
Okay.
Yeah, it was strange, but like the way they were singing, a lot of it sounded like church hymnals.
Oh, I
But
love
that,
it.
yeah, but then at the same time too, the way that they would get in certain notes, there's certain times where like they amplified comedy in that way, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But then also at
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
time, at other moments, it was sounding almost like you were in a horror movie. So you
Oh,
were just
love
kind
that.
of, yeah, and so you were kind of like in these like moments of just like where like the atmosphere just kind of got really like it would go from like almost like this bizarro vaudeville commedia world into like, you know, you feel like
Yeah.
you're probably like walking in the hallway of like, you know, Mike Myers is probably like chasing you down the hallway or something like that,
Oh,
where
amazing.
you're just like, yeah, you're like you're feeling tense walking into the scene.
Yeah. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
Funny enough, Mackers is a similar vibe
Mm-hmm.
in that it's like walking into a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's a lot of tech, which I love if if the acting and the script and the play are solid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Script and play are the same thing. The acting and the
Mm-hmm.
play and the direction is
Mm-hmm.
solid.
Yeah.
I don't mind the bells and whistles of like a lot of tech,
Yeah.
but I've seen so many things where, the acting is great, the script is trash, the direction is trash,
Mm-hmm.
but the set and the tech is
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
And so like I feel for this production that it's all there.
Yeah.
There's this is my plug to come see the Macbeth at OSF. That it's the acting, the people we have at the helm playing Mackers and Lady Mac are brilliant. The music is great, the direction is
Mm-hmm.
great. It's a good group of people. And it feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I had a conversation the other day with one of my fellow actors that essentially said, as we were talking, I was like, wow, it's feels so rare that you're building a really great piece of art, and everyone, a part of it is also really great, like kind and gentle and
Yes.
loving, and for a moment we were like, well, I kind of wonder if, when we come out of we're doing it pre-pandemic, now we're doing it post-pandemic. Now the people that stuck around, that are like, I love this art form so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to figure out what I got to do when we're not doing it,
Yeah.
but still do it afterwards and have all of the like grace and graciousness
Yeah.
of the form that it's still here, because it was on,
Yeah.
it felt like it was gone.
Yeah. No.
And
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, it did. And to be honest, I mean, like, there's still, like, it still feels like there's that threat of it being gone, just because of the fact
Yeah.
that, I mean, like, we're seeing, like, not only the loss of funding, but I mean, to be perfectly frank, I do think that there's a lot of institutions that haven't learned the lessons
I agree.
of what we need to do to adapt, not only in terms of material that we pick, but in terms of, using digital theater, finding new accessibility initiatives, like certain theaters, like literally closing down like their children's education wing, where you're like, no, this should be here. This should be here. We
Yeah.
should be here grooming, like,
That's
getting the
the
next generation
future.
up.
That's the future.
But to step into it, I have had those experiences where, like, the rooms that I've been in, I've been in too many rooms, but like they've been good rooms. And like, I went back to grad school during the pandemic.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there was something about it too, where it was a mishmash of people that were from different classes, where it was just literally like, this kicked our ass.
Yeah.
Like, let's just do the work.
Yeah.
Let's just do the work.
Yeah.
Forget the
And do it
bullshit.
well.
Forget the
Yeah,
bullshit. Let's just, and it felt way better to be in there. It felt way better.
Good.
Like, there's just no ego. Absolutely none.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. I'm navigating, my phone is connected to the speakers, to the Alexas out there.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, she's not playing music. So I am also playing DJ while I sit here.
So you gotta play host while you like lock yourself away when you got house guests?
I mean, it's me. Come on. Are you surprised? Please. Don't be surprised.
Not at all. All right. So let us start from the top. I first met you at San Jose State.
Yeah.
And we hadn't met at this time, but like the first time I saw you was in Big Love.
Oh,
and
yes.
Yeah, and I remember we did a very interesting production of Lysistrata. Like,
we did.
6 months later. But there was something that I always found striking in those first couple of experiences with you, where I think, to me, when I was trying to think about like why was it so fascinating to watch you, and I think it was like you were the first actor that I saw live where it was like, you could be standing still, it looks like you're doing nothing, but there's a lot going on. Like, it's full, you're full in your stillness. And so there was something about that where like I don't think I'd seen it from anyone else up to that point. And so that was always like very fascinating to experience, because I remember being in that show thinking I needed to do like all of this work, and you were kind of standing in your power, being very clear about what you were doing.
Sure.
Like, nothing was forced. It was just like, it was just very like present work.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah. I think that's something that I've always appreciated about watching you, is just like it's always you can just take this, it seems like you can take the stage very, very, like, with a tremendous amount of ease. And I think it allows people to kind of settle in and really take in what you're doing and what you're delivering, and what you're giving to them.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let us start from the top. Before San Jose State, how did you get into theater? Did you get in through music, or did theater come first and then you got into music? Because I know you also do musical theater as well. So I'm kind of curious on how that started.
Yeah, my favorite story to tell, especially to kids, on talkbacks, is my first time I ever performed in front of anybody was when I was 9 years old, and I sang for my auntie's wedding, and I got applause after I sang. So I was 9. I was little. I mean, I'm very short already. Imagine me like shorter. And so it was me and my dad, and I sang, and I got applause, and I was like, okay, I like this. So I continued singing. When my parents would, go to church, not go to church, go to church, not go to church.
Yeah.
And so I so I sang. And then in middle school, I was a part of the choir. And we sang like Lion King, and we sang some of the songs from The Wiz. And in my seventh grade year, they did The Wizard of Oz. And
Hmm.
I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I love The Wizard of
Yeah.
Oz. Let's do it. So I got cast as a munchkin and understudy. It's very excited. And understudy to Glinda. And I was like seventh grade, the eighth grader who was Glinda was like, she
Yeah.
was the best singer. Her mom worked in the office. She was so cool.
Understudying that young, that's fascinating.
Crazy. Yeah. She missed a lot of rehearsals due to other things. So
Hmm.
I actually performed or rehearsed a lot. It's like
Hmm.
where I learned how to be a good understudy. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of the first time that I was incorporated into musical theater in that way. My parents, bless them, they're two, folks who have a high school education. My dad went to college for a year. Both worked, my mom has worked in the field, so has my dad. My mom, for most of my childhood, worked in a factory,
Hmm.
packing raisins. My
Hmm.
dad was a truck driver for a local lumber yard.
Hmm.
And so they didn't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they had four kids,
Yeah.
right? So any excess money was often used for let's go away for a minute and let's go to the beach that's 2.5 hours away that we never go to. But extracurriculars, like something like paying for me to do musical theater
Hmm.
or vocal lessons or anything, was just not a thing.
Yeah.
So I played softball when I was a kid,
Nice.
and I was, but my dad was one of the coaches, so we did it for free. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
Um, but my friends all did dance, and I was like, I told my mom so many times, I was like, why aren't I in dance? I should be doing dance. My best friends are doing dance. And she was like, one day she was just like, we can't put you in dance class. And I was like, wah, wah. But all of that to say that that was my first interaction with any kind of theater.
Yeah.
And other than the little, assemblies that you would do as a kid. And then when I was a freshman in high school, I auditioned with a friend randomly for Much Ado About Nothing. And
Hmm.
being just having being a singer since I could speak, I naturally just I have a resonating
Hmm.
voice.
Yeah.
And being a singer, my articulation at that time, being 14, was pretty on point. So and the teacher said that she was like, you are
Hmm.
so loud and
Hmm.
clear.
Yeah.
And so I was cast as Antonia. I'm gonna close the door
All
as
right.
and that was my first Shakespeare, and actually my
Hmm.
first kind of interaction with Shakespeare. And that was the only time they did Shakespeare in my whole high school. But then I became a part of the drama club and I was in every show, and was it was funny in that I was like, I'm also a singer. But they would be like, no, we're gonna do this play. You're not gonna do the singing role. I'm like, but I'm literally a
So
singer.
weird.
Isn't
So
that weird?
weird.
Like I'm literally, that's what I do. And I mean, you know, the macro microaggressions, they are what they are. We know what they are now. But being one of three brown kids in the theater department and always playing second or third fiddle to
Yeah.
the white kids who were always the leads, even if they didn't really want to do it, they were just doing it because their parents said they had to,
Hmm.
was a real thing, right?
Yeah.
And so eventually my junior year, or my senior year, I got like one of the lead roles because no one else could sing. And I was like, okay, cool. I mean, I'm glad that I got this role, and
Hmm.
it's a play called Wild Dust. So inappropriate. It's about these
Interesting.
hookers in
This in high school?
high school, about these hookers
No.
in the 19th century who kill a man. It's crazy. Who kill a man and then they hide his body. It's a great play. But
Holy
I'm like,
shit.
this is so inappropriate. And I played the madam. And I'm like, and at the time I was like, oh my God, and this is the last show my grandma saw me in. My grandma passed away when I was 19. So it was the
Oh
last one she ever
man.
saw me in. But I like hit a guy over the head with a beer bottle, knocked him out. Um, a lot of fun. But yeah, so and then college, I ran into kind of a similar thing. I went to UC Riverside for undergrad, and
Mm-hmm.
I got cast in 3 shows the whole time I was there. They did 6 shows a year. I auditioned a lot. Um, and while I was an undergrad is when I had open heart surgery the first time.
Yeah.
And when I initially went to school, I was like, I'm going to be a biomed major. I'm going to be a doctor. I had my first acting class and I was like, this is what I love.
Mm-hmm.
And then so that all happened in the summer before my sophomore year. I came back my sophomore year and I changed my major. I was like, I'm going to do theater and
Yeah.
because I love it and I'm going to take my time. So I'm a double major. I'm a religious studies and theater, take 5 years instead of 4. And I'm really glad that I did that for multiple reasons. During pandemic specifically, life can be stressful as a theater maker, especially financially, but I am happy.
Yeah.
Like there's never a moment when I'm not, that's a lie. Sometimes we're unhappy, but it feels like there's never a moment that's too long. I
Yeah.
guess that's a bit that I'm unhappy with the work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And similar things. It was at the time that I went to UC Riverside, it was a mostly white in the student body in the theater department. It
Mm-hmm.
has changed since then,
Yeah.
thankfully. And so I was in 3 shows, 2 of which I replaced somebody. I'm telling you, the understudy thing. You
Mm-hmm.
good understudy, man. I
Yeah.
replaced 2 people, and had a great time. And then I took a year off. I worked at a gas station,
Mm-hmm.
and back home for a bit, and then realized nope, I can't do this. This is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then that's when I met you all fine people at San Jose State. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
What
there.
a journey.
Yeah. That's a hell of a story. No, but there really is something to be said sometimes too. But because like I got to be honest, like a lot of the gigs that I've booked, like they're because somebody dropped out and like somebody remembered me for something. It was just like
Yeah,
Shane is the reliable person who can pick that
yeah,
up really quick. So yeah, there's a
yeah,
lot of times where like some of the work that I've done that has been very rich and felt very fulfilling. I was not their first option. It's just like
yeah,
things just happened where like things kind of fell into place, and it was just kind of like, and it's weird because sometimes it would happen during a moment in time where I'm like, man, like I really want to go like work on something, and then I would just like get this email and I'm like, oh,
yeah. There it is.
like the ask just
Yeah,
happened.
yeah. Well, there's something to be said about, first being, great at your craft, even, right?
Mm,
Amazing at your craft. But if you are reliable and kind,
yes.
that's going to get you hired more
Yeah.
times than your talent.
Yeah.
1000%.
Yeah. Especially if you're the emergency cast person, it's just like someone really had to vouch for you to get you in there. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
just like,
absolutely.
if you are gonna affirm somebody's reputation about who they're gonna pick, I mean, like, you're doing well by so many people.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Because someone had to say vouch for you, and then somebody else had to be like, yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
Right. So no, 1000%. It's true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it really fascinating too about just granted, like like you mentioned with the microaggressions, but it's just like the whole thing about like your casting where it's just like for me, like I've just because you have such a broad skill set, I feel like just alone makes you so fucking castable because it's
Mm.
like just because you've always done Shakespeare incredibly well, just the fact that you can like sing your ass off, like you already have this broad set of skills that like make you like that slot you into so many things by osmosis of just like what your skill set is. It's
Yeah.
just like you have those
Yeah.
things that a lot of
Sure.
people they just don't have.
Sure. Sure. A lot of things on the special skills.
Oh, completely.
Like, what do you need? What do you need?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, and I learned that, um, and it's shifted and it's changed, which is a wonderful thing.
Hmm.
But I learned at that time, my parents would chat to me about, if you ever get pulled over, always cooperate, things like that, things that are important for
Yeah.
life. But realizing then that is prevalent in all parts of life, the world, whether it be going to the bank and not being trusted that it's you, whether it's going into a casting room and then being like, you're not who I had in mind for the lead female or whatever, and being like, but I'm actually quite good. You should, I remember no shame on Yale. I have a lot of Yale friends. But I auditioned for Yale for MFA a few years back, because I decided I was going to audition for MFAs again, because I need it.
Apparently.
But I auditioned for Yale, and he looked at me and went down, and he may have been looking at my resume, but he didn't look up one more time after he took an initial look at me, and just who I am physically in my body. And said, thank you so much. And that was it. I was like,
yeah, okay. I will say it's like, the people that Yale does cast me, they are talented, but it is just that thing of just like, they do have an aesthetic. I'll say that. Absolutely. You look at who they bring in, they have an aesthetic, and it's so specific.
It is, and it needs to be shifted and changed because the world is shifting and changing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's just like it doesn't serve people to do that, and you're not serving the art.
No, not at all. And not the art that should be made sometimes.
No.
Oh, what is the art we should be making? And it's not that.
Yeah, it's something that I've been thinking about a lot in terms of, some discussions that I want to have in the future with some people is just like, how do we move the art forward? Because I think that there's something to me about I think just because of who's funding theater, because of who the demographic of theater is, the subscriber model, things of that sort, there's something incredibly conservative about the lack of innovation within the theater space.
Yeah.
Because I think about music where it's like, or film where it feels like you're constantly seeing either technological or certain genre shifting in focus in terms of just how we see story, and sometimes I feel like theater is constantly resisting that.
Oh, absolutely.
And I wish we could just lean into just being more expansive, being more forward, because if you think about American theater's still very young, so it still took.
It's about 100 years old. It's not that old at all.
Yeah. Literally, there's people that are still alive that trained with Lee Strasberg and Stella Adler, first great teachers of the American theater.
Yeah. I mean, I agree completely, and unfortunately, I think a big part of it is who is funding it.
Yeah.
Is who are the people, like you've already said, who is funding and a lot of those folks are richer, of course, and whiter, and were introduced to theater at some point in their lives in a way in which POCs like myself were not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when I teach, a big goal of mine is not to turn them into little actors. That's not my goal. My goal is to turn them into theater lovers, no matter race, gender, whatever. Because in the future, not everybody's a performer, not everybody's a technician, not everybody's a designer. But if you are in 20 years going to be working for Google, and your fondest memory, one of your fondest memories as a child is that time that you got to take a Shakespeare camp or an after school program or coaching or something. And that is going to then transfer to your pocketbook of what, if you're rich enough, what things are you giving money to that you feel, of all. I'm assuming this child is super rich, works at Google, has billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And that child, one of their things is they can donate to whatever, and the art form for me, I hope the art form that they choose is theater, and helping, artists as well. I also I am an artist. And so these theater companies, OSF just got a $5 million grant, right? Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Means I have a job.
Yes.
But there's also a lack of funding for the artists themselves. A lot of us don't make a living wage, and not a wage which in this world that we live in, especially the theater communities. The theater communities are Chicago, New York City, San Francisco, Los Angeles, most expensive places to live, except for maybe Chicago. Places to live.
It's kicking up now. The rent market's not as friendly as it used to be.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, even Ashland, it's a tourist town.
Hmm.
So rent here is crazy expensive. So, you know, just like the idea of not only donating to theater companies, but creating like grants and scholarships and things for the artists themselves. Yeah, I'm all
Yeah,
about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Give it to the people. Like it needs to be it needs to be people first, not property first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also thinking about that too with like, working with kids and stuff like that. It's like, how do we bring theater to people as opposed to thinking about this idea of like, oh, let them come to this like building or something like that? Because like
Oh
I
yeah.
think something to me that I've been
Oh
thinking about with
yeah.
like I want digital theater to take off. Like I
Me
want
too.
certain, because like I do think that like I love, like we're so behind what like NT Live and other places are doing where it's
Oh
just
yeah.
like making it more accessible and also putting together high quality broadcasts. Like they know how to film theater
Yeah.
and make it look beautiful.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like because like I think I'm having a frame of mind where I'm like, we need to get theater to get as close as possible to being as accessible as Instagram or TikTok, as close as we can.
Yeah. And it's live content.
Yeah,
It's doable.
yeah,
And OSF in 2022 did theater on film, this whole thing where they would show Revenge Song or The Tempest over the course of a weekend
yeah,
and had it really beautifully shot. They didn't do it last year and they're not doing it this year, but I was like, this is phenomenal. Like
yeah.
the craftsmanship in the way that they were filmed was just so beautiful. And so like that needs to happen more. Like that, it
Yes.
bums me out when people are like, is it going to be available digitally? And I'm like, no,
It
get
and
to
it.
Oregon, I guess.
I'm sorry, my first Oregon, because like Oregon's not that, it's not very accessible to me. Like my
No, not
only
for you.
Oregon Shakespeare
Yeah.
experience was a digital version of Water by the Spoonful.
Yeah.
Like, and I was glad to give them money. Like they got my
Yeah.
money because it's like now it's accessible to me,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and it's
Absolutely.
kind of like you're building fans in a very particular place to
Yeah.
like places that would never get to you to begin with, or you're creating a way for them to get connected to your space.
Yeah. Being like, oh my God, I need to get my ass there and spend money on also not just the theater, specifically here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like not just the theater, but also the restaurants, locally owned places,
Yes.
breweries, wineries that are here. So I'm like, draw people in. Yeah, it's a whole thing. And I'm like, we
Yeah.
have the capability.
We have the
Why aren't we
capability.
doing it?
Yeah. Yeah. We just need to have the will, and especially like technology like this, it's getting cheaper. It's getting
Yeah.
cheaper. There's ways to do this. Brian,
Yeah.
thank you for coming into the chat. We will get to your question after we do a list once we get to the Q&A. So now I want to kind of go down a list of things because I have some questions about some shows.
Okay.
Uh, because like I feel like these are some good checkpoints like for your career, what I assume. But
Okay.
like,
All
so
right.
I'm very curious about your experience with mummified deer because like I never saw that
Oh.
because I was in my study abroad during that time.
Oh, that's right. So was Josh, right? Josh was
Yeah,
also in
yeah,
the
yeah.
abroad.
So
That's
yeah,
right.
both me and Josh did a study abroad at the same time.
That's
So
right.
completely different parts of England though. But
Yeah.
like I was kind of curious on how that, for you, how like did that change anything for you in terms of like your own artistic growth, getting to work with like people who were like legends of the space and then getting to
Yeah.
be like the matriarch and like basically the title character of the show.
Yeah. 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 It was definitely a new thing that had never been an experience for me
Mm-hmm.
ever. And so to have a leading role, for it to be a Mexican role, that's a
Yes.
huge thing. Because I think in the history of I mean, at that time I was 25, 26.
Mm-hmm.
So, and still just doing solely school related things. But in my entire time, or at that point, I guess it had been 10 years of doing theater, I had never played, I think, anyone Latina and definitely never played anybody Mexican. So that
Mm-hmm.
for me was a huge deal. Having Luis Valdez there and his son Kenan at the helm and his wife there, and his son also, his other son, helping with choreography was phenomenal
Yeah.
because I'm, meeting an icon and it as I've progressed in my just work and have worked a bunch of places, I've met my specifically Latin icon playwrights
Yeah.
multiple times and are friends with some of them, right? But that was my first experience of that. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, he reminds me of my Theo. And
I
that was
love
such
that.
yeah, it was so humbling because I was like, yeah, he's this name. He's world known. He's, directed La Bamba. Like he's
Yeah.
amazing. But he's just just 60 something year old Mexican Theo, that I
Yeah.
knew as a kid.
Yeah.
And so that was really refreshing because, and I think it's actually come along with me as I've gone through the world, because there are moments when people are like, "Oh my gosh, you were just talking to so and so," and I'm like, "Yeah, I guess," and they're like, "Why weren't you weren't I was like, "Yeah, but everybody poops,
I know.
so like, what's the big deal? Like
No, for real. Yeah.
everybody poops, and so that person, he probably pooped this morning or
Yeah.
right before he got here. We don't know. So like, and that moment of meeting Luis was kind of that for me, in that I was like, oh my God, I'm doing Luis Valdez's play. This is so exciting. Da, 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 da. I'm so nervous. And then when I met him and he reminded me of my family, I was like, oh, he's just another dude who just
Yeah.
happens to be a really good playwright.
Yeah.
And so, and then playing in regard to playing the matriarch, again, like I said, this was the first time that I'd really had that type of leading role. And I will say, working with Kenan, I actually learned a lot.
Hmm.
I learned a lot. I think from that show, I became a better actor. And he like pushed me in ways that I was like, I don't even know if I can do this, but let's just go for it. It also like kind of gave me that sense of like, oh, I will keep pushing, probably maybe sometimes further than I should, but I will keep pushing until I get what I need in regard to
Hmm.
performance.
Yeah.
And what is the balance of pushing too much,
Yes.
right? And that it's over the top and not believable, and it's set. So I learned a lot from him, and just that production in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
Learned, what it means for a stage manager to be on. Uh, Kenan was very intense. There was a
Yep.
day that we were in rehearsal all Saturday. It was long. It was like tech. So it was like a 12-hour day. And we got like 2 or 3 breaks. And I think
Oh
we had a
God.
scheduled dinner, but we had like 2 or 3 breaks. And I left the stage at some point to get some water. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Where's Amy?" I was like, "I'm thirsty. We haven't had a break." Like, so also it was one of those moments where I was like, where do I stand my ground?
Mhm.
Right. Like, I'm not going to complain about little tiny bullshit, but important things like going to pee because you haven't had a break is important.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely a big like, whew, here we are. This is
Yeah.
pull up your britches or whatever to
Hmm.
move
Yeah.
forward yeah.
Well, also those first moments when you're first learning how to advocate for yourself in a room, that's fucking scary. It's
It's
fucking
terrifying.
scary.
It's terrifying. And I still get nervous. And
Yeah.
I'm 15 years older than I was then. And I still get very nervous, my anxiety. I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm going to ask for something. Oh boy, it's happening.
Yeah.
But I've learned to advocate for myself in regard to
Hmm.
pay and treatment, and so fortunate to be a member of Actors Equity, because for the most part, access is not always the best, but in
No.
regard to the room and feeling safe and all that stuff, I'm like very grateful for all of that.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's really awesome to get that too. And that's also really interesting about like you talking about like how far do you push it, because it's like with that play, it's interesting because like I've read it and
Yeah,
like it's kind of an expressionistic play.
yeah.
So there is something to be said of like, okay, like this can get ratcheted up in ways that like you wouldn't have like the permission to do in like a kitchen sink drama.
Oh no, there are
So like
moments of
where does that
that.
line happen?
Yeah, there are moments of it, but then it's a very expression, and it's a beautiful play. I want to see it
Hmm.
done again. Um, I mean, and maybe now I would love to
Hmm.
play her again
Oh
because
yeah.
I'm older and wiser and
You know,
a
yeah.
better understanding of all of those things. So yeah,
I gotta be honest, I'm shocked at how little it's produced because
Me
of how
too.
because of how good it is.
Oh,
It's
good.
fucking good, and it's
Yeah.
it's an epic play. It's a
Well, I think
really epic play.
one day, Luis, rightfully so, was like, it's like you're playing King Lear.
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
oh, you're right. You're right. With my dyed gray hair and my t-shirt and my jeans
Yeah.
in the side of the theater.
Yeah, but like, yeah, I feel like it's got
Hey,
all the qualities you want to see out of a massive production. Like, it's
yeah.
all there. It's on the
But
page.
I guess the thing is are you going to do a massive production of that play? You
That's
know,
true. That's true.
you gotta have the balls to do it. And there are larger, I think, regional theater companies that would now
Oh,
than they would have 15 years ago.
oh, definitely. Because it's also it's fucking funny. Like,
Oh,
like
yeah,
it's really sharp.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for
No.
sure.
So, one that I'm very curious to asking you about is because for me, I felt like this production felt like such a coming out party for you, Hedwig.
Mhm. Oh
So,
yeah,
because you did that for like 6 to 9 months, like that went
nine
on, like
months,
that thing
nine
blew the
months.
fuck
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it felt like there was something about that production where if I just from me watching on the outside, I felt like that was one of your first big roles
It
in
was, it
like
was,
outside professionally,
it
but
was.
like the whole town coming in to see it. If for you, if for like even talking to you in the middle of doing that, because I saw it a couple of times, it felt like
Yeah,
not only it was a coming out party professionally, but also in some ways spiritually and personally. Like it felt like something
yeah,
like really
yeah,
changed in you in the process of that show.
yeah. Yeah, 100%. Uh, it was a couple of just like logistic things. It was where I learned that I love long runs. I
Yeah.
love a long run of a play. It taught me so much about myself and my self-worth.
Yeah.
Um, it also taught me that I can hang out like nobody's business. I mean, we already knew that.
Yeah.
Um, but it also, it was a moment of coming out as who I truly am. I mean, you know me well, and our cohort of friends,
Hmm.
San Jose, I would say more than probably anywhere for me is those are the friends that I've kept the longest for sure. Um, know me already. I know that I'm a silly goose and all that fun
Yeah.
stuff, but that was that show introduced that part of me, especially for hanging out with folks and going to the bar afterwards and talking to people. Like I got introduced to people who had no clue who I was and or saw me in this random thing or saw me in this random thing. So just more people got to know me. I got to know more people, which is also
Hmm.
fabulous. And then on top of that, like you said, it was one of my first leading roles. And I got to sing the shit out of everything, which was awesome. And talking about stillness,
Yeah.
right? That
Hmm.
show taught me what it means, or maybe it didn't teach me, but made me come to recognize or realize how rooted you often need to be, even in a moments of what can be considered nothing. So
Yeah.
when the amount of space you can take up by
Hmm.
just standing there, it always reminds me of
Yeah.
The Simpsons when Marge buys or she borrows money to make her pretzel business succeed, and so the mobsters
Hmm.
are there, and they knock on the door, and they're like, "Where's my money, Marge? Where's my money? I know my money." And then the ladies next door whose falafel pit or pita pit, whatever, got bombed by the mobsters, hired the Yakuza to come kill Marge as well. But then the two mobsters, the Yakuza mobsters, fight each other. And in the back, there's one guy in all white just standing there. And
Hmm.
Homer says, Marge is like, get away from the window, Homer. And he's like, but Marge, the guy in the white suit, I know he's going to do something. I know it. And he walks away and you hear a big, battle, whatever. And the guy flies through the window and he's like, apologies. And he walks back out the front door.
Can I disrupt you for a
That
minute?
Oh my
moment.
God, I remember that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just gonna say, everything's cooked, cut. I cut everything already. Is it good to serve?
Oh my God, yeah. Oh, I'll put
Beautiful.
more wine. More wine.
Oh, fuck.
Thanks so much. Oh, for
Thank you,
anybody
Mozart.
who's watching, there's a play happening simultaneously being built with Macbeth called Born with Teeth,
Ooh.
which is a play about Kit Marlowe and William Shakespeare coming together to write a play,
Mm-hmm.
the 90-minute two-hander. Mozart, my partner, is working on it, and we are having people from that show over tonight. I made pozole, and so they're
Mm-hmm.
indulging in the pozole as we speak. So
I'm so sorry that I'm keeping you from that food.
oh my God, no, I make it all the time. I can make
Okay.
it for my clients.
Okay.
They should enjoy it. I make that shit too much. Sometimes I'm like, there's pozole in the fridge. And Mozart's like, yeah.
Yeah.
But other people don't get to have it very often. So no worries. And when you
All
come
right.
visit,
Perfect.
I'll make sure to make it for you.
Oh yeah. Perfect. I'm
Yeah.
so excited. Yeah. Because Ashland will happen sometime soonish.
I
But
hope
yeah.
so.
Yeah.
You have a place to stay if it does. Yeah,
All right.
for sure.
Beautiful.
Yes, the Yakuza, he comes in through the thing. And I always think about that when I'm standing still. There's a moment in Macbeth where the witches are just there, and I'm like completely activated, but I don't move unless we're masked, unless, I have to take something in or I'm watching. And so like that stuff I find beautiful. Yeah, but Hedwig, I want to I want to do that play forever and ever and ever, always. I love that play
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you find that like the work was kind of coming to you a lot more like after that show was done?
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, mm, mm, I, so when I left San Jose, I did a school tour and I started
Mhm.
auditioning, in 2010, 2011.
Mhm.
And when I started auditioning, I started getting things pretty quickly, usually
Yeah.
ensemble, role, whatever you're going to sing here, community theater in the San Jose area. And I moved to Oakland and I worked for this theater, Boxcar and Little Shop.
Yeah.
And what was exciting about that was they actually gave me a callback for Audrey, which in a
Ooh.
billion years, I would never think that, but I can sing the notes, right?
Yeah.
So they called me back as Audrey. I ended up being a part of the ensemble, understudying one of the ladies. But I worked in like community theater pretty consistently, and I auditioned with you when we went to Berkeley. We went to Berkeley Rep and auditioned that one time we drove up from San
Oh
Jose.
my God,
That
we did.
where did we eat? We ate at a cafe or something.
I forget. Like
Mhm.
a lot of that I blacked out because I think I had one of the worst auditions in my life
Oh
in that room.
no. Oh
No,
no.
no, you know what it was? Because like I remember that because me, you, and Claire went to the audition.
Mhm.
And what I remember was like, because I think I was kind of peeping through that, like y'all had a discussion with the casting director, like for a little bit
Yeah.
afterwards. And then I
Yeah.
remember I got done with my monologue, kind of paused for a second to see if she was going to start the conversation. And the casting director went, okay, it's just a general.
Oh no.
And
Oh,
I locked up and like, I just like, I've never like been in a room where like I walked with my tail between my legs like that. It was,
oh
yeah,
God.
it was
Yeah.
bad. Like just the fact
Oh,
that she kind of like that comment was made, I was like, holy shit. Like I don't know if
wow.
I want like
I don't
I
remember.
was
I don't know
embarrassed. I was
yeah, I
so
don't remember if you
embarrassed.
told me that part. I know that I remember the conversation part, but I don't remember you telling me about, well, it's a general. Amy Potocka, no, don't say those things. That's not nice.
I know. Cause like cause like you kind of just assume the casting person's just gonna say something after you're done. Like what even if
Yeah,
it is
like
just
thank
goodbye.
you for
But
coming
like
in.
but yeah, at least just that. So I like leave I know to like leave the room, but like that coming out of her mouth, like was it just supposed to be saying like, oh, done with the monologue and go, okay,
Yeah.
bye.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, that was like that was definitely that one took some time to recover from, to be honest.
I bet. I feel like I would. Yeah, same.
Yeah. But yeah. So, another one I wanted to ask you about was Party People, because I found that to be one of the more fascinating ones on your resume because of the fact
Yeah.
that it's like about the Black Panthers. But like,
Yeah.
I'm kind
Yeah.
of curious in terms of that, in terms of the content of the play, where how did that like shape your mindset in terms of theater as a form of civic engagement?
Oh, yeah. No, that's good. Well, fortunately, living in the Bay, I was already very aware of especially smaller theater companies doing things like that. Not so in depth with like American, because Party People was a part of the American Revolution's God, what is the word? The OSF was given money to essentially do a series of plays about the history of America.
Mhm.
And the Universes was one of the group of playwrights that were hired to do that.
Mhm.
And they got to choose what they, whatever it is. So like All the Way, which is a Tony Award winner, was conceived at OSF. They have the
Mhm.
little Tony Award in their little box, and
Yeah.
then the lobby of the Bomer. Under that American Revolutions thing, I'm missing the word. But so was Party People. And what
Mm.
Universes decided to write about, also still American history, was the
Yeah.
Black Panthers and the Young Lords, the Latinx group that came out of Chicago.
Mhm.
And so that's how they chose to talk about American history. And then what happened, then they went to Berkeley Rap and I was part of it. But being from the Bay, there was and living in Berkeley, I feel like I had already seen, not necessarily been a part of, but seen a lot of, if you want to call it political theater or like open your eyes type of theater, like this shit was going on as well. And to be a part of it was fascinating. I learned so
Mhm.
many things. I mean, my concept of the Black Panther Party, we're Latino. We have family members that are racist, right?
Mhm.
So against themselves and other people. And so my concept of what the Black Panther Party was a militia group who were a threat to America. That's
Mhm.
what I understood them to be. Even in Forrest Gump, when the Black Panther
Oh,
member,
so bad.
right? And I come back and, well, I love Forrest Gump. I love it. It's a thing, a part of my childhood. So that's why I
Yeah.
love it so much. Um, but that moment as an adult after doing Party People and watching it, I was like, yikes, this
It's
is
painful. It's painful.
bad. This is really bad. And so in that, I learned a lot. And one of my favorite moments was day one of rehearsal. I'm newly equity, right? That's where I joined the union,
Yeah.
was for the show. I was like, I emailed them and I was like, hi, I'm at 50 points when you needed 50 points to join. It's like, I'm at 50 point, no, I was gonna write an email, but I got my package and they were
Mhm.
like, so here's your equity contract. Your dues will get taken out of your check. There you go. And I was like, okay, that was easy. Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. But first rehearsal, Mildred Reese Sapp was like, just so you know, as they were presenting just what the show is and all that, she's like, you're probably going to be talking to the group. You're probably going to be on an FBI list now for doing this show. So, just thought I'd give you. And I was like, okay, dope, 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 dope. But it was, about revolution and
Mhm.
it heightened just something I think life-wise, life-changing,
Mhm.
is that it heightened my interest and knowledge of what the actual history of this country is.
Yes. Yeah. Especially the dark history that the Black Panthers reveals. Because
Oh,
I
sure.
mean, like, I'm sure you've seen Judas and the Black Messiah, but
Yeah.
like, learning the history about like literally saying we will not have a Black Messiah because of like how powerful Fred Hampton was in terms of like
Oh,
creating
yeah.
like rainbow coalitions, but also it's kind of like we don't talk about COINTELPRO because of not only the fact of how they not only like went in there to ruin them, but like how that program in general went into Latin American countries to like subvert their governments.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
like how much goes into just saying we have to protect the empire
Yeah.
at all costs.
One of my favorite things favorite or most memorable things that happened was one of the women. We had a number of Black Panthers. I met Fred Hampton. No, I didn't. Who did I meet? I met one of the very famous ones, the one that was a part of the Chicago Seven.
Yes, Bobby Seals.
Bobby Seale.
You
Met
met
Bobby
Bobby
Seale.
Seals?
Met Bobby
Oh my
Seale.
God.
I have a book. I have a
Oh
book
my
signed by him.
God.
I have his autobiography signed by him. And he saw Party People, and a number of other Panther members saw Party People. And I remember specifically this woman, and her name was Erica, I believe, was a part of the Oakland branch of it. And she was went to the Berkeley Marina with a friend of hers who's also a member of the party, sat there near the marina looking out at the water, and her friend goes, "I will never see you again. Just know that I do love you, but I work for the FBI, and you will never see me again." And she never, ever saw that woman again. Yeah, who had been her friend for like 10 years, 5-10 years, like an extended amount of time. And people married folks that were in COINTELPRO, had children with these people. And then like some of them disappeared, some of them whatever. But I'm just like, that is
Holy shit.
all for wanting to get in deep with an organization that created lunch and breakfast for kids and was just trying to organize community. You know, our breakfast school programs that we have now in American public schools started with party people, with the Black Panthers.
Yeah.
You know, like stuff like that. And I'm like, I completely was fed by that. Because my parents didn't have all the money in the world.
Same.
So when they
Same.
get up to school, go get breakfast at school, right? So anyway, COINTELPRO. Fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sinister shit. It's really sinister shit.
It's like the bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like I was fed by that program too, because my parents were broke, you know? So it's just like, yeah, that like helped us for so many years.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You know, and like we would never think to be like, thank you, Black Panthers, for doing that.
Not
Because
a million years.
because it's just like, yeah, it's something that I think about a lot, where it's just like literally building community in itself as an act can be a threat.
Yeah.
Because we've always worked on a divide and conquer strategy within this country. Like, all the time.
Absolutely.
Like community scares people.
Yeah.
I think, which is why I think for all of us, like I think that's something that we always need to think about, is we have to lean on each other.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So another one that I have a question about is Quixote Nuevo, because I remember us having a conversation. Because I remember, like, it was right around this time, I think you just did this show, and like I think you came to Chicago before I lost my voice.
Yes. I had just done it. Like I had closed like a month before.
Yeah. And I remember you telling me that like this show, how special the show was for you, because it was the first professional show you ever did with an all Latin cast. And like you've never had that kind of experience before. And so I was kind of like unpacking that for you.
Yeah. So I had so many experiences where to be honest, like token brown person.
Yeah.
On both sides, token brown person in an all white show and token brown person in all black shows. That happened to me on both sides. And I was always like, I'm so grateful for the work. I'm having a great time with the folks that I'm in these shows with. I'm so grateful to be working and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I would have folks who would have just done a show with, peers that were from the same community and or the same like ethnicity, race, whatever. And how often they'd come back and be like, oh my God, I just did this show, with an all black cast of this one play. And it was just such a magical experience. Or I just did this Latina play and it was all women of color and it was beautiful. And I was always like, my experiences have been great too. So I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sure I'll be fine. So we do Quixote Nuevo. Like I said, it was the first time I'd ever done a show with an entire company of Latino folk. And it really was an experience that I had never had before. Like, oh, not only are we like-minded individuals in regard to the way we feel about theater, but we're also like-minded in, like you and I, like in the way in which we were raised, in what we believe our Catholic upbringing, or not, what a religious upbringing, how we like to certain kinds of music, how we my parents didn't teach me Spanish, mine either, mine did. I made myself learn. Emilio, who played who is Luis in Sesame Street, but played Quixote. He having somebody of that age who is successful in not just theater but also television was a new thing. And just like all of that combined turned it into such a magical moment for me. And then, of course, meeting Octavio Solis,
Mm.
who then came to my house one day. We watched basketball, and I
Holy
had a
shit.
had a full panic attack because I was like, I have to clean the house. Octavio Solis is coming to my house. I've had his play Lydia in my like bookshelf for 10 years. Oh my God, that's one of those moments where like, I again was like, no, he poops, so it's fine. So like, you know, but it was just like that. And then KJ Sanchez, who's coming to ACT in San Francisco in that season, she directed it, and she's a Mexican director who's in her 50s, who's just amazing. And like just being surrounded by people who are of similar backgrounds, similar color, similar peaks and valleys in their life, come together to create a beautiful piece of work was just brand new for me. And everybody has some privilege, right? Everybody has some form of
course.
But there is something about being in a room with a people who have been subjugated for so long and still are, and to be able to create a piece of art that talks about that and also shows the beauty of our culture through the lens of a book written by, a colonizer. So like, and reclaiming. So all in all, it was just a really lovely experience.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's incredible to walk in when you have those kinds of experiences where it's just like, because especially, with theater, just because like we've talked about before with how white the spaces can be. I remember one of the first shows that I saw, like, coming out of lockdown, was American Mariachi. And,
Chicago?
in Chicago, it's not the Goodman. And there was something so beautiful about walking into the space. And like they're playing mariachi music pre-show, and it's just like a quarter of that audience is singing. And you're just like, there's something so great about walking into this space, and the whole thing just like, it literally feels like you're walking like into your cousin's house. You're literally walking. Like, it is that reminder of just like, this is the gathering space that it's meant to be.
Yeah, and also like our stories are important all around. Stories of where people come from and who they are is so important. And all of them should be told, not just specific solo, or one culture or one, like all of them should be told.
Yeah.
And we, even if I walked in and I wasn't Latina and I wasn't aware or Mexican, and I walked into that space, I'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm like Cambodian rock band. Happened at OSF. I walked into that space, I walked out a different person, right? Because not only did I learn about things I never knew about, but also I got thrown into a world that I am not any part of and have no clue about. So it was,
Oh,
it's important.
I mean, I think we underestimate our ability to see each other through the lens of a different culture. It's just like there's always going to be something that can like, if something is well written enough and performed enough, it's just like those threads are there. And we're just like, there's certain things that are more, the barriers of connection are more artificial than we think. And I think it's just a matter of just like being exposed to it. And then then we have the opportunity to kind of like soften through the process.
Because then we have an understanding of what people are or who people are. Right. And I think it's also very helpful to be like, I think it's a way in which to, like you said, soften, but like help with, tropes and like race and forms of.
Oh my God. Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
I understand now why this person does this certain thing when they're walking down the street, why they do X, Y, and Z, because I've seen where that comes from. Right. And judging them for that, you're like, oh, I know why he does that or why she does whatever. Right.
I mean, because even like media, in terms of how we like portray like a Latin story, right? Like it affects other Latinos too. Like
Yeah.
one of the most interesting things that I heard was like it was on Latino USA, and they're talking about how like they're rebuilding Medellin like post Pablo Escobar. But then
Mm-hmm.
it's for me, this is the reason why I'm never gonna watch Narcos.
Mm.
Was like literally like they rebuilt Medellin, and when you hear how they did, it's fucking incredible on how
Yeah.
the civic infrastructure that they created in order to like reconnect the city together. Like it's a miracle what they've done. It truly is.
Yeah.
But then the tourists come in and they're trying
Mm.
to find the Pablo Escobar hippo spot. Like,
Of
you
course.
know, and it's just like literally like Mexican tourists are only coming in for the Pablo Escobar part with no
Sure.
other cultural concept. And it's just like within like inter-Latino communities, it's just like we're creating
Oh,
the
sure.
solo image of that.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of
absolutely.
like I think about it with like the Narcos spin-off of Mexico, and they're going to El Chapo, and it's just
Yeah.
like that's the image. That's the image.
Yeah.
That's what gets the money. And so for me, I'm just
Yeah.
kind of like, if we see the multiplicity of experience, I mean, like as opposed to like the one image, the drug mule,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's just like there's so much power in that. There's so much power in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, going into Ashland, so like, how did Ashland happen? Was that just like you went to a general, or did someone like give you a rec? How did that come? How did that come together?
So actually when I did Party People, Mildred, who's one of the writers, and at the time they were resident playwrights for OSF. So they would get the emails, you know, the all company emails every day or whatever. So Mildred one day was like, "You're also a teaching artist." And I go, "I sure am." She's like, "Well, there's an opening for a visiting teaching artist at OSF. Are you interested?"
Okay.
And I was like, 100%. So she forwarded me that email. I submitted, you know, whatever, met the women who ran at the time the education department at a Shakespeare Theater Association retreat. So I got to meet them. And then in the process of me applying for this job, I got it. And that brought me to Ashland in actually 2015. And I was here for 3 months solely teaching. And at that point, they asked if I'd be interested in coming on as a full-time teaching artist. And I was like, I know myself too well. I'll watch the plays, be frustrated, and quit after 6 months. I know myself. I just too well. I'm not performing. All I'm doing is teaching, and like no shade on folks who only teach. Get it. But I just know myself well enough.
Yeah.
I need both. Even when I'm performing constantly, I'm like, ooh, I miss teaching. So that happened. And when I was there, I got to audition for Bill Rausch, Joy Dixon, the casting director at the time, Dawn Monique Williams, who was actually Bill's assistant at the time, and the folks for education. In that season, I got a call back for The Wiz. Did not get it, thank God. I should not be in The Wiz. I mean, the one at Berkeley Playhouse was very fun, and I loved the concept, but I shouldn't be in The Wiz. And I came back the following year to do their school visit program. In that process, I auditioned, submitted videos for OSF for certain roles. Did the same thing the next year. The fourth time around was the year 2016, 17, 18. Yeah, the fourth time is when I was actually about to start working on Quijote Nuevo. They announced what their season was for the OSF announced it. One of the plays was Mother Road, also written by Octavio.
Perfect timing.
I got forwarded the script. I read it and I was like, ha, does he have me in this play? Like Mo is me, literally Amy Lizardo, like from the Central Valley, like she's a farm worker, but comes from, you know, a lineage of farm workers, like so silly. And like, I mean, you've been around me when I like the Latin comes out of me, like, you know, like just kind of a little ghetto. And I'm like, this is me. This is me. So I auditioned, submitted my audition, but I hadn't started working with Octavio yet. So that's the part that I was like, this is crazy. Like I haven't even met him yet and he knows me. And we had a great Quijote Nuevo, had a great time. And then and also simultaneously auditioned for La Comedia of Errors. Then got my offer in July. And then in July, and then got my wine everything. That's most
Beautiful.
exciting.
Beautiful.
And got my offer in July to start in January. And then in that time, finished Quixote Nuevo, came to visit you, been on boats. Once Men on Boats closed, I had 2 weeks or 3 weeks before I started rehearsal at OSF. So that was the process of me getting to becoming a member of the acting company. But I had been a part of the company as a whole since 2015. Yeah.
God, that's awesome. And how has that like been facilitating your own growth artistically to kind of like have this home to be at for a while?
You know, I am so, I'm going to call it, I'm not going to say lucky because I work very hard. But I like to say fortunate, I guess, in that for every off season, I've booked something that takes me away for a little bit. And I think that's really important. So in 2019, I came back and did Christmas Carol at ACT, which was a good learning experience. I was like, this is a good, solid gig. And it was the first time I had worked in the Geary at ACT.
It's huge. It's
Oh,
huge.
God, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But I had a great time and I got to meet these kids and just the way in which this, returning seasonal thing worked. I loved.
Oh, yeah, I got to do a show with Jim too. I mean, like,
I mean, no big deal. No big deal at all. And then in 2020, well, we all know 2020, but 2021, I came back to part of that growth was due to the reading groups that was started.
yeah.
The Shakespeare reading group, the Chicago one as well, which kept my tool sharp.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, I get to watch these brilliant actors from all over the country do their thing in this size box, which I also find, I like to say, like when people are like, you've been doing this for so long, it doesn't get boring. And like, well, first, it's always exciting because it's theater. And two, every show I'm in, there's one person, at least, if not more, that I watch and just try to learn from.
Yeah.
And whether it's their acting abilities, whether it's their professionalism,
yes,
whether it's lack thereof, learn what not to do, that's also a learning experience.
No, I'll be honest. A bad play inspires me.
Oh, sure.
Like, cause I'm just like, why did this bother me? And so like I have to like work backwards and like deconstruct. And like it's a helpful tool. Like it is a helpful tool to either like see people with bad habits or to see bad shit. It's helpful.
Or to just see bad people.
Yes.
I've been in shows where I'm like, why are you here? You hate this. So that reading group, multiple reading groups that I had the privilege of being a part of throughout the pandemic was so helpful. And I actually think I'm better now than I was pandemic. There's a patience that I did have before, but that's now even more prominent.
Yeah.
There's more of an understanding, which I also had before, but even more now. So that was great. And then in 21, I did Pericles, a 4-part like episodic version, and that was super fun. And it taught we did like the Zoom kind of like you're on Zoom and everybody's in a layer and you're talking to each other and it looks weird, but it was fun. I had to learn more like film type of acting, I think. And then we did the final episode in person in Cupertino.
Oh, Amy still there? Amy? Amy? Chat, can you hear me? I want to know if it's my internet. Brian, can you hear me? Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. All right, let me message Amy real quick. Ah! Oh, we love tech issues. There had to be a tech issue. There had to be one. Oh, man. Okay. Let's see if she signs back in. All right. Chat, for anyone who's here, thank you for sticking around for this. I really honestly appreciate it because this has honestly been very, very fun. Very, very fun. But yeah, before Amy comes back, something that I want to go ahead and mention is if you do have a question, please do leave it in the chat. We will get to them. We just need to get Amy back here, and then I'm sure we're probably going to wrap it up pretty soon. Just give me a moment. Shit! Oh, man. Okay. Amy just texted me. She's going to be right back. How's her classes going? Sweet. Man, another check. You do so many check rides. What's the interview for? Is that for like to kind of get your outside hours for flight school? Certified flight instructor. Yes. Amazing. All right, let's see. Oh my god. Oh. So all right, so Amy just told me that somebody turned off the internet. So that's why she's not coming through right now. Oh, that's crazy. Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, hi.
Fancy seeing you here.
Fancy seeing you here. So my internet is in the living room, right? And it's connected to just this is where we decided to plug it in because that's where the cord to connect the cable, blah, 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 is. It just so happens to be on the same thing as a light switch.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody turned the light switch off.
Oh my god.
They're like, I'm not done. Somebody turned the internet off.
Oh my god, that is so funny.
So anyway, my bad. Hi, right. I don't remember. You were like this, listening.
Giving you the interviewer like, I'm really with you right now.
So still. And I go, are you here? And then as soon as I said that, it went.
You're just like, wow, Shane's locked in right now.
Engaged. And I was like, I don't know what happened. Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So we're about 90 minutes into this, so I'm actually thinking probably should wrap this up in a sec.
What are you talking about?
I know we were talking about
hours.
Yeah, so we were talking about like growing as an actor.
Oh,
and
and
stuff like that. Yeah.
Long story short.
No.
Each time that I've been off season, I've done something, whether I taught at the university.
Yeah.
I did Red Bike, which was a two-hander at Center Rep in Walnut Creek.
Oh, and cutting out ceviche is so fascinating.
Oh my God. Yeah. And the language and the poetry and jumping in and out of characters. It was me, Addie Walters, and Jeffrey Lowe directed it. So it was also just a group of friends working, which was really nice. And we did a lot of nerdy, like, MFA, VFA type of shit. Like, take the cake. William Thomas Hodgson was the choreographer.
Yeah.
So that was really great. And then this last off season, I did a new musical on the East Coast. So I've gotten an opportunity to step away.
Yeah.
Often, and it all fortunately, and knock on wood, it continues. It's all timed out really well.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. So last show I want to ask you about, like I have to
Yeah.
ask about Real Women Have Curves.
Real
Did you
Women Have
read the
Curves.
book or see them? Was the movie a big part of your life growing up?
No, it came out when I was around the same age.
Okay.
Not the play, the movie. And I was like, don't tell me, Chilean born actor, how to be a Mexican young woman. I love America Ferrera. She's amazing. I don't even think she's Chilean. I think she might be
Honduran, yeah.
Yeah, Honduran. Thank you so much. Racist. And I was so like, I've kind of been this way since Selena, though, to be completely honest. Like I'm kind of that cohort that's like, why did this Puerto Rican woman play Selena? Right. And that still lives in me. And I try to let it go, but just every so often it comes back. And that was one of those times. And I was only like 20 when that movie came out. Perfect age to see it. Didn't know it was a play before that. So I was doing a show last summer in simultaneously with 12th Night. So 12th Night was only evening shows twice a week. And I wasn't understudying anything that would have made me do anything during matinees. So there's a small theater company called Rogue Theater Company that does very small plays, but uses former OSF actors who live in the community.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of their stuff I've seen is so good. So they asked me if I'd be willing to do a play called Heisenberg. And it's another two-hander. I had a lot of text in my brain last year. And I did this with actor Tony Heald, which people might know from Silence of the Lambs. He was the creepy psychiatrist.
What the fuck?
Yeah, Tony Heald. He was the vice principal in Boston Legal. He played King Lear at California Shakespeare Theater. Like he's amazing. And he asked for me specifically to do this. And I got to do it. It worked out perfectly. And I think one time I had to miss rehearsal because we had to put in at OSF. One time out of the 7-week process. So that's actually pretty good. And opening weekend on Sunday, I did the show with Tony. And afterwards, it's a day that Mozart came to see it. And Lisa Loomer, who wrote The Waiting Room.
Yeah.
I think Roe won a Pulitzer or something like that. No big deal.
Yeah, highly produced playwright.
Yeah, highly produced playwright. She lives in Ashland. And she came to see Heisenberg. Yeah. And she knows all these people, right? She came to see Heisenberg. And I was talking to a dear colleague of mine who came to see the show as well. And as I was chatting with her, Lisa, they were chatting and I came up to them. I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here, Carolyn. So good to see you. Lisa goes, Carolyn, are you going to introduce me to this person? Introduce myself. And she was like, you so good, right? Really nice, complimentary. She was like, do you sing? And I was like, I sure do. And she was like, because I really, she's like, and you're Mexicana. I was like, I am. And she was like, I'm writing a new musical called Real Women Have Curves. And I was like, oh yeah, I know about that. And she was like, I'm really advocating for Mexican American. She's like, where are you from? Do you mind me asking? I was like, from Southern California. And she was like, amazing. And she was like, I'm really advocating for not just Latinas, but also like Southern California border Mexican folk to be in this show, especially if they do theater. And I'd love for you to audition for it if that's okay. I'm like, oh my God, yeah. I go, what? She's like, it might interfere with OSF. And I was like, well, when does it start rehearsal? She's like, October 16th. She's like, when are you done with OSF? I was like, October 14th. And I was like, and what is this for? I go, what theater company? She's like, Broadway. I was like, what now? So came to learn that yes, the trajectory is that it will be on Broadway in the fall of this coming year, as of right now. So I submitted a video for the sister, sent in just a song, I think, not even this, just a little monologue of the song. I learned that shit. I was like drilling. I was in the rehearsal hall for 3 hours and then recorded a 30-second video, right? Submitted it at 5 o'clock, got an email back at 7 or hour and a half later that said, from the casting director that was like, oh my God, can you come to LA next week? And I was like, when? It depends on when. He's like, the audition's on Tuesday, callbacks are on Thursday, but if you can't come to the callbacks, we'll figure it out. And I was like, I can be there Tuesday. My parents, my dad lives in Medford now, which is a town above Ashland.
Okay.
My mom was visiting, just so happened to be visiting that week. They both gave me some money for the flight, so sweetly. Flew down to LA on Monday night, stayed with a friend. Had my audition at 3 o'clock on Tuesday, flew out of LAX at 7 p.m. My audition was for the sister, came in, sang my songs, did my side, and he was so kindly. Because just like you said, with when you're auditioning, you don't have to say those things, right? Nice or not, you don't have to say. So finally, on the other end of that spectrum, he was like, wow, you're really talented. Can I have you read these sides? Which is for the mom who's like 50. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
What?
Who's like in her 50s. And I was like, but it's one of the leads. And I'm like,
okay.
yes. He's like, what time is your flight? I was like 7. So if I get out of here in the next 45 minutes, we'll be good. Because I know how long it takes just in LA traffic. So especially at this time of day. So I went into one of the little rehearsal rooms, went through the sides, went back in, read 2 different sides. He gave me notes, did it again. And then he's like, okay, well, we're going to send you some requests. Like, we're going to have you sing her song. We're going to have you do like a dance video. But just, wow, thank you so much for coming in. And so this is Sergio Trujillo, who's a Tony Award-winning choreographer for Ain't Too Proud.
Man.
Yeah. And so, and in the room was not Nadia, whose last name I can never pronounce properly, so I'm not going to attempt it, who won like a Tony for like Waitress. Like she did Waitress on Broadway. And other shows. Yeah, crazy. And so I didn't hear anything. And it was already Thursday and I had already flown back. Finally, I think Friday or Saturday, I emailed the casting director. I was like, hey, I haven't heard anything. Like, I'm not pushing. Just, do you need a video? I just was told that you would need videos. He's like, oh my God, he called me. We talked for a second. He was like, he really wants you to be a part of this project. Now, the question is where. He's like, would you be okay with being ensemble or swing? And I was like, it's not my preference, to be completely honest. But yeah, of course, if I get offered that, I will. So they had me submit a bunch of scenes, a song, and then I was put on hold. Like, if you hear anything, let us know. You know those emails? If anything true, please let us know. During that hold portion, they were like, can you also send us a dance audition? And I was like, yeah. And the dance was salsa. It was pretty simple. Oh, it was a whole thing. And then it's all video. Like, it's all video. So it's not even getting a chance to really, And then I got the offer, which was for a swing understudy track. Not knowing that the mom is the name, right? Broadway name. So Justina Machado, who is in One Day at a Time. And
no
also
shit.
6 Feet Under and all these other things. Yeah, she was the mom, and I was her primary understudy. Isn't that crazy?
Fuck. I love her too. I love her.
I love her, and she's a really great she's a really great person, in all honesty. Like, love her. She's not a theater person, so sometimes that can be a little, of a thing in a room and it's just adjustments. It's not a big deal. I went on for her a bunch in rehearsal. And Justina Machado, you ever see this? Thank you for that. Because not only did I Sergio got to see what I really can do, but also the producers who are, you see rich people in movies and you're like, rich people don't dress like that. And then you see rich people in New York at your first rehearsal where you're wearing leggings and a t-shirt and they are in like a 3-piece suit and like a fur coat. Like, it's crazy. It was insane, but they got to see me as well. They're the money behind Chicago, that's on Broadway, Waitress, Pippin, other things. So they have some success. So I got the gig and was very interested. I've never solely understudied / swung a show. At OSF, you often are in one show and then you understudy something else, but you're always actively participating as an artist.
Yeah.
In sense, for the most part. There's some folks who are here on only understudy contracts. I've never done that. So the hardest part for me even though I did get to build some of the stuff because I went on so often during rehearsal, was like, it's hard to take artistic ownership of something when you're trying to just mimic it and trying to get the spots right, you know?
Yeah, because I've understudied too many times, and it is one of those things where it's like I respect it because it's fucking hard.
It's so hard.
It's really fucking hard.
It's so hard.
But you hear. I feel like when you understudy, you're constantly hearing two different things. We want you to own it, but hey, remember this is how exactly you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Own it.
Don't change anything.
But like, yeah. So when it doesn't belong to you, it's kind of like you're doing that weird thing where you kind of feel like you can't help it. You're doing half imitation. And
you can't help it.
It's really tricky. And you want to
you've been watching it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
You cannot help it.
Yeah. And you want to do that thing where you explore the space, you do your thing, you're making the discoveries, but then it's just like, nope. You get stopped in your tracks more.
You do.
And so that not only that, but there's a weird thing where it's like you're a part of the process and you're kind of not.
Yeah. So even though I went on in rehearsal, I still didn't feel like I had any ownership. Like I was there to be a place marker for her while she was away.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm like, everybody has an ego, of course, but like, I don't care. I got my skills. I know what I can do. Like, of course, I'll get nervous in front of certain people. But again, look, I'm here to do my job. That's why I'm here. That's why you hired me. So when I went on for her the multiple times, I'm like, you know what? Justina is a good singer, but there's some moments when some of the songs are like belt, 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 and I was like, you want to hear somebody belt? I'm gonna belt for y'all. This is what's gonna happen. And like holding notes and just like getting to just do it, but also add a little stank on it. And then of course, like I got a note from the music director. He was like, he only had time to work with one understudy, and it was me. He decided to work with me, which I was so grateful because I had actually had no music rehearsal. It was all from listening and sitting in on, just regular music rehearsals. But one-on-one, I didn't have a single one, which I take that as a compliment. And he was like, I was like, finally, here we are, you and me. Let's do this. But he was like, this song, he's like, I think you're doing too much. I was like, okay, I can pull back. Absolutely. Great. That note of you're doing too much, pull back. And I was like, yes, done. And then for whoever's in the room, some cool news. In May, they're doing a workshop, mostly for the writing, but a workshop. And they've asked me to join them as an ensemble member. So yeah, I'll be going to New York in May to do a workshop of it as a female presenting ensemble member and as cast. So as a proper person in the show. Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. That is so exciting. And in terms of like the content of the story too, was there something about the story too where you're like, you've got to be seen in ways culturally that you haven't in otherwise?
Yeah, absolutely. The story of Anna, as if you know the play or the movie, right? It's her journey, but just like this girl who specifically, it's a female lead one, and her mom, her overbearing mother, and their relationship, and having a mom who is not overbearing. My mom is not overbearing, but having a mom who doesn't want you to leave, doesn't want you to go for whatever reasons, right? Doesn't want you to go, and you were like, I have to go. I have to. If I don't, it will eat me inside, right? And there's this whole song.
Oh my God.
It's it's about 25, perfect timing, 25 minutes in. And the song is, she goes, I can't do it. She's so amazing. The actress is, oh God, why am I blanking on her name? She was in American Mariachi. Lucy Godinez.
Oh yeah, she could fucking sing. Yeah.
And she could act.
Yeah.
That girl can act. So she sings the song. She's like, fly away, the wind on my side. I'm gonna change the world, not looking back for the first time. So when I fly away with the wind on my side. That's just one chunk of the song. She sings something like that for 3 minutes and it's her. Oh,
Oh man, that's a lot. That's a lot of shifts totally. Holy fuck.
oh, she's phenomenal. I love her.
Yeah.
When I did go on for just, the many rehearsals, but also the one time in performance, I was just like, wow, you know how to give as an actor. My God, this is the young lady who understudied her is super green and lovely, very good. But also like there's a certain level of just the give and take, right? That some actors have because they've been doing it forever,
Oh yeah.
right? They've been doing it forever and they've learned that, or they just naturally have. And she has that. She's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, so that's kind of the tone, and it deals with. I think there's a lot. I think they're doing some, as they should.
Yeah.
But they're yeah, it's supposed to be on the Broadway in the fall. Hopefully I'm part of it. Sounds like maybe I will be. That'd be
Oh
great.
my god, I
That'd
would,
be
I
cool.
would fuck. I mean, like, I'm buying my ticket to New York if that's happening. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I just have
I
to
mean,
experience that.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, we're already kind of coming up on an hour 40. There were some other questions I wanted to ask you in terms of Shakespeare in general, but I think we could like leave that for another day.
Okay, great. We'll do a
But
part.
yeah, we can always do a part 2.
And I'll
We can
tell everybody about all my favorite Ashland haunts. It'll be a great experience.
Oh fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
I'll
Like
create a PowerPoint.
yeah, it'll be an Ashland behind the curtain.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So let's get to the one question that we did have in the chat. With theater being so important to introduce to kids, how do you combat closures like we're seeing with Steppenwolf? So did you see the news on what's happening with them?
I didn't.
They closed their TYA program. So which was pretty devastating because to be honest, sometimes their TYA shows were the best things they produced all season. Like no shit. They were doing fantastic TYA. And so yeah, and that's something I've been thinking about a lot too, is how like it feels like there's a mindset where that's extracurricular for theater as opposed to saying no, this is a necessary building block.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. Anybody that will lend me their ear who has any say in artistic leadership, and I did this at ART, I've done this here at OSF. I did it. Where else did I do it? I think I did it at ACT. Anybody that I can talk to that has anything, I have that same conversation. I say, you know what the bummer is the first thing they take money away from is education, and yet there's your future audience. So in 15 years, when you don't have an audience anymore, you can blame yourselves. And like, I am very blunt about it because I think it is important. And fortunately right now, our artistic director, Tim Bond, who just came in, and executive director, Tyler, last name I cannot recall, they were very adamant about restoring the education department here.
Beautiful.
Because Lily Gladstone came here when she was in high school.
She was in high school when she was there?
She was in high school and came on a school visit. Literally came here with her class to visit and see plays and do workshops. Then later came here as an actor and is now an Oscar-winning or Oscar-nominated actress, right? So
she's one of the most powerful presences I've ever seen on camera.
I haven't got a chance to see the movie. She was in an adaptation of Measure for Measure that they did here called Off the Rails, and she was brilliant. She played the main girl. And I got to see that. But I think that is such a clear example of the importance. And so I think that this is for anybody, if you can get an ear of anybody, and I'm talking even like your friends who work in tech, like there's a company, a board member who donated $3 million or something, they have that money, to OSF and said this specifically goes to education.
Good.
And now they have 2 more people on the, because for a while it was just one woman running the entire thing. And I did all I could to help. I was like, I'm here for you, girl. I'm also doing a show, but I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And another actor the same. but now finally she has support. But I'm like, yes, that, you're going to donate to ACT? Tell them they have to put it into their education program, right? Because I love a good set. I love, like I talked about this, we're bringing it back around. I love a good presentation, but I don't give a shit about who's on that stage sucks. And there's nobody in the audience, right? So that's what I would say. Talk to the people who can do something if you can.
Yeah.
And if you can't, well, teach and get stuff in there, and because it's so important. It's actually like, I don't think I'd be here. I was always a performer, right? Always. But I don't think I would be here if I hadn't seen San Francisco Shakespeare Festival do Othello at a local town theater. And I saw a bunch of folks of color doing a 1-hour version of Othello when I was 14 years old. I wouldn't be here.
Fuck.
So.
Fuck.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right, yeah. Amy, this has been like, I was honestly planning, I thought this was gonna be an hour max, and it went for an hour and 45. It was just like, it was just beautiful to like
listen. I am a storyteller.
oh, trust me, I know it. I know you know how to tell a story. But yeah, but I feel like that there is still so much of your journey that I didn't quite know, and that I was hoping to like learn a little bit more about, and just hoping that people can take something from this in terms of like where you've been, and like I've always been so proud of your work, just because like I know that in a lot of respects has been a grind for some of those years before some of the bigger gigs came along, but you've always been so consistent. Thanks. Always been so fucking consistent in your work ethic, in your mindset, and just like really just always, you've always been somebody who's always put their best foot forward, and you've always been about the art. You've always been about the art, and like I really love watching that. If there's anything that you wanted to like leave for like a young artist, or any kind of pearl, what do you, I mean, I know it's a big question, but like, what would that be?
It is, but I kind of I was thinking about this already, because we've been talking so much about consistency and best foot forward and students and all of that. But I always, my thing is, there is, for me, in the house, no matter where you're working, there is a young Amy out there watching me and hopefully being inspired to do this. And so always do the best that I can at the moment, because I've heard so many stories of students going to see things, and like my dear friend, she said she was riveted. Her classmates did not give two shits. She was riveted by like Placido Domingo or somebody. And at the end of the show, she was like crying, and he flipped them off because they were being a raw, kind of rambunctious crowd. And that hit her real hard. But like another person, he's like sitting in the back of the Elizabethan stage, 1,200 seat theater, watching these people on stage who he could barely see. But he saw one person that kind of looked like him, and it was amazing. And that excited him. So like, just always know there's somebody, a generation or two behind you that is looking at you as especially if you're a POC and a woman, to be completely honest, who is taking great like pride in watching you do really beautiful work. So I just like, never half-ass it, go 100%, or whatever your 100% is at the moment. But there you go. There's my basket of knowledge.
All right.
There's people playing the guitar in the next room. Singing, what are they singing? Under Pressure. Yeah.
Oh my God. Beautiful song.
Yeah. Monday, our only day off. Here we are.
Fuck yeah, dude. All right. Oh my God. This has been a blast. Thank you.
Oh my God. Yeah.
All right. I love you so much.
Right. Love you. Yeah. We'll talk more soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. Talk soon.
Okay. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.
Mwah. All right, everyone. That was so much fun. I hope you had fun too. Hopefully I'll be posting this to YouTube soon, posting some clips on social media. Keep an eye out, and keep an eye out for our announcements for the next one. All right, take care.